Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out Unperfect Heroes Battle Lines. This is a game that's coming to Kickstarter in sometime January 2020, and as such, what you're looking at here is somewhat of a prototype, and everything that you're about to see is subject to change. Though from what I'm told, this version here, for the most part, is very close to the finished build. But still, I have to make that disclaimer because the game is not retailing yet. Things can happen during the Kickstarter process. Manufacturers might change. There might be some stretch goals added. I don't know. So this is not a retail copy. This is a prototype given to me that is supposedly almost close to the finished product. So what is Unperfect Heroes Battle Lines all about? Well, basically, you take everyday Unperfect Heroes and you're trying to get yours to the end of the line by cutting in front of other people. Think Steve Jackson's Munchkin in the sense that the spaces on the board are numbered and you're trying to go along these numbers to get to the end before anyone else. Although there's no dungeon delving or anything like that, like in Munchkin. This is more of a battler in the sense that you've got a hand of cards, and whenever it's your turn, you can challenge other people to try and cut and move forward. So here's a look at the components here. Now, this is not going to be a complete instructional video. I have a written preview that I'm going to be publishing alongside this. This is just to sort of complement the written preview. If I leave anything out here, go check out my written preview, which is much more detailed. This is sort of just to give you a visual element. Here's a look at the box. These are empty card boxes. It says here, expansion deck coming soon. So I'm guessing these are just included for promotional purposes, but it looks like more of these decks will be added to the game at some point. I'm sure you can purchase those separately. You've also got these player tokens, and then 4 of these plastic player stands. So yeah, the game supposedly supports 2+ people, but I was only given 4 player stands. So I'm going to assume that the average player count is between 2 and 4. The instruction book is here. It's fairly big, but a lot of it is fluff in the beginning, just, you know, cartoony backstory kind of thing. The game isn't all that difficult to learn. In fact, most of what you need to know can be found right on this a quick play rule card that comes with the game. What you're going to do is you're going to take this deck of cards and you're going to shuffle them up, and you're going to deal 7 to each player to form their starting hand. You're also going to choose one of these boards. Now there are 6 of them. Well, let me backtrack. There are 3, but they're double-sided. So on this side, you've got Wapple Chew. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but okay, I'm old. Tasty Heaven, and you can see that there's a different number of spaces, like the Alien board that I'm looking at here has 15, whereas this only has 12, and landing on different spaces will cause different things to happen. So choose your favorite player board, flip it to the side that you want, and then put all of your people on the beginning space, and then your objective is to get from the highest number down to the lowest number in order to escape, or whatever the case may be. So on a player's turn, what they're typically going to do is they're going to try and play a cutter card. The active player becomes the cutter, or the line cutter. And you're going to play as the cutter cards. They are represented by these little yellow circles in the upper left-hand corner. You're going to play those to try and battle an opponent to cut ahead of them. You're going to be comparing stats that they have, for example. There's 3 different stats that you'll be comparing as you do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the quick play rules just to make sure I don't miss anything. Step 1 is the cutter picks out an opponent who lays out a target card. So for example, let's say that I only have 2 people set up here in random spots, but let's say that this is the cutter and he's going to choose his only opponent, which is this guy here. So now the target has to choose a target card, which is what this symbol represents here. So for example, I might choose this card, and I'm going to go ahead and play that face up. So from there, the cutter is going to decide, okay, what cutter card am I going to use to try and battle that? He's going to look at the stats here, 4, 1, 2. This is 4, 1, 3. This is 2, 3, 4. So he's going to try and pick stats that would be better than his opponent, if at all possible. There's also a move value. Move values don't mean anything when it comes to battling, but that does determine how many spaces you move when the time comes to actually do it, should you win that confrontation. And you can actually pick a stat and just battle on that one stat, and the outcome will determine what happens. I'll get into more of that in a minute. But let's just say that the cutter chooses this card. Now, if the opponent wants to, they can pick a second target card to help them out and give them some backup. So the target player could do something like that. And as such, the cutter player could, again, say just choose a cutter card, up to 2, and just do something like this. Okay, so now that we've got a maximum of 2 per player, you don't have to, but if you wanted to have some backup in your battle, you can do that. Once players are done picking out their cutters and possibly their second cutters, they're going to go ahead and possibly play a random crap card. Random crap cards are sort of like interrupt cards in Magic the Gathering. You've got like this random cutter crap card that's represented by this little symbol up here. These are like different effects that will, come into play whenever you play them. So, yeah, a typical Magic the Gathering interrupt card. So if you wanted to play one of those, you could. And then you're going to compare the combined stats of Fight, Bribe, and Chicken. And the cutter's job here is to try and win at least one of those stats. So for example, let's take a look at the stats. You're going to take the combined values of the cards that you played. In this case, we've got 3 different possible stats to compare. There's Fight, which is the red there. You've got the Bribe, which is the green number there, and Chicken Out, which is the yellow numbers there. Obviously, it looks like Fight would be the best for these people. So, I mean, obviously, they've got the higher stats there. So, should the cutter win the fight, the piece is moved forward, the move stat on the first cutter card played. Again, this was the first cutter card played, and the move value was only 1. So, it would probably have been better for the the cutter player to play this first, and then had they won the strength battle, the fight battle, they would have moved 3 spaces instead of 1. But for example purposes, that's what I chose. If the opponent or if the cutter wanted to compare bribe numbers, that would only be a value of 2, so that wouldn't be very good. And Chicken Out is a value of 4. So again, the cutter is going to choose a stat and then compare these values to try and outdo the targets. Now, different things will happen depending on the outcome of the battle. Like I said, if you win a fight, the cutter's piece is moved forward, the move stat on the first cutter card played. If you win via bribe, the cutter moves their piece forward, the move stat on the first target card played. So the cutter would still move forward, but based off of the first one that was played, which is this one here. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. And then Chicken Out, the cutter does not move forward at all. However, the target player moves backward, depending on how many target cards were played, and so on. You're going to resolve any board effects, should they land on any, having done that. And then players will discard any cards that they played, plus any other cards that they want to discard, and then they'll draw back up to 7. And then the roll of the cutter will move on clockwise to the next player. And players are going to rinse and repeat until one of them reaches the end here. Now, one thing I didn't mention, there are some other things. This is one thing I found to be really cool. There's these little symbols on the bottom left-hand corner of these cards, and if you happen to match them, then you can take the special effect listed here. So let's see if I can find 2 that actually match. Let's just peruse the deck so you can see some of the card art while we're at it. Let's see, so there's a meat thing. I think I saw that in my hand here. Let's go ahead and just look at the rest of this. As you can see, the art is fairly cartoony. Definitely PG-13-ish though. There are some cards like oldie moldy here I would find questionable. I've not seen this at Walmart. I would not want to, but there's that. But yeah, I mean, some of these cards are fine, others are a little questionable, but again, this is more for a teen/adult audience, I think. So, younger kids probably shouldn't be playing this game, honestly, but that's just my opinion. So yeah, so there's different card art here. Again, mainly just cutters, targets, and these crap cards that you can play. But again, these cards have symbols on them, and if you happen to match the symbols, like here's two of these meat things here, these little chicken legs. They're the same effect, by the way. So this no matter what symbol it is, each symbol has the same effect. So it's like there's not going to be an effect here that's different from this effect if they match. It's always going to be the same effect. Eat, or simply discard the rest of the cards in your opponent's hand. So you can play, whenever you're playing your cutters or your targets, you can try and match up these symbols in order to play some kind of special effect. Now granted, like I said, this was not a complete rules delve. This was just a quick overview to give you an idea of what you're in for should you decide to back this game on Kickstarter. Again, that was sometime in 2020 is when that's going to happen. Well, if you guys haven't already, subscribe to me on Twitch and YouTube. That way you can stay up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.